Because selfishly, you spent the next year constantly ripping into, suspiciously, a lot of, not myself, but other people of color. I'm not calling myself a person of color. I know it's going to get clipped out of context here as well. And then you're going to be like, meh, 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 whatever. No, just noticing that you have just been going after a lot of...
This guy is really throwing spaghetti at the wall. He's accused me of being racist. And that, to me, is like, my eyes rolled all the way in the back of my head if I had a seizure.
Cenk's nephew is in full meltdown mode over the fact that Ethan Klein released an hour and 43-minute video that documents his consistent support for terrorist organizations and the fact that Cenk's nephew is just a terrible person. In addition to that, it also shows that Twitch, of course, allows all this content. They end up promoting this guy, so he decided to release a video or do a stream and then clip the video where he challenged Ethan Klein to a debate on the topic, but of course refuses to watch the video. And Ethan, I gotta give him credit, he is calling Cenk's nephew out on this, saying that, yeah, I'll debate you, but you should watch the video on stream, actually show the audience what you're fighting over, rather than just say, oh, I was taken out of context. All the context was just removed from the video without ever showing a single instance of him being taken out of context. Because, spoiler alert, there was no taking Cenk's nephew out of context at all whatsoever. However, we got to go into the different various components of Cenk's nephew's smear tactics so you can understand how he avoids all accountability for his actions. And of course, you understand the deep-seated insecurity that this man feels for some reason when compared to everyone else. Again, Cenk's nephew, you are successful. You have a ton of money. There's no reason you have to be so afraid of your audience. There's no reason you have to hide basic information from them. And I find it absolutely hilarious that he is super pissed off in his little response video to Ethan Klein. And Ethan's response to his response is all joy, all jokes, and all amusement. And in addition to that, he reveals a bunch of different things that Cenk's nephew has been trying to hide from his audience. Now, we're going to get into this, but before we do, I will remind you that friend of the channel, Devin Tracy, his parents lost their family home in the California wildfires. He started a GoFundMe in order to help them get back on their feet. I'm going to link that in the top of the description. If you can donate and you want to help a friend of mine or somebody you might be a fan of, please do. If you're not a fan of Devin or you can't donate, it's totally fine. Again, I'm just trying to help my friend.
Oh, this was his first response. This one was chock full of the most pathetic, just like grasping ad hominem. And you have to remember that this guy apparently was my friend for 2 years. Now, I've said a lot of things about Hassan, but I'm not like, I mean, we were during our time together, we were friends. You know, I'm not like, because he's like, oh, he's dumb, he's fucking stupid, and he doesn't know anything. And it's like, well, had a political show for 2 years. That's how you felt about me the whole time? I don't know. Like, I won't say like I felt that about him when we were friends.
So a couple of things. One, for the purposes of my video, I'm actually showing Ethan Klein's response via the podcast highlights channel. That will be linked in full in the description. But in addition to that, I'm also going to link Cenk's nephew's full video from his own channel that he posted, which is entitled Debate Me Ethan Klein, so you can watch him in his full context, because he claims he was just ripped out of context. And it's so sad that Cenk's nephew just keeps getting betrayed by all the people that he is actually in reality betraying. And I love the fact that Ethan opens up by saying that he was his friend for 2 years, and Cenk's nephew is raging out about him, saying that he's a failed comedian and whatnot. And my favorite part about this is that Ethan ends up revealing that when Cenk's nephew was at the Young Turks, he emailed him begging for a collaboration way back when.
Person who definitely understands things. Very smart, very intelligent. Definitely not a fucking hack-ass, failed-ass, dumbass fucking comedian.
Bro, I've never tried to be a comedian, a failed comedian. What are you talking about? You were the one in my emails begging me for a collab on the Young Turks.
Right, that did happen.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Like, why would you? It's so, like, pathetic, bro.
So this is something that needs to be made clear. It needs to be made obvious, which is that Cenk's nephew constantly uses other people in order to promote himself, and this includes his family, and then he throws them under the bus when he feels like he's gotten to a point where he doesn't need them. This is true with TYT, Cenk and Ana. This is true with, of course, Destiny, who Cenk's nephew keeps trying to tie Ethan to, even though he's the only person that was friends with destiny among any of the people having this discussion, and of course, it's true with Ethan Klein, and he ends up proving how disingenuous he is, how much of a liar he is throughout the course of this video.
And again, it's like it's not even a sore spot for me or anything, because I'm not a comedian. I've never tried to be a professional comedian.
He's not funny.
Exactly. I keep trying to tell everyone that.
Yeah, we say, in the comedy
We can't say
world,
I'm
we
failed
the
either
last
way.
line of
I mean, I'm doing
defense.
pretty good.
You're doing
This
okay.
is where
So a lot of people are harping on this specific clip right here where Ethan says off the cup he's not a failed comedian, he never tried to be a comedian, because there's a bunch of different various clips of Ethan saying he's doing a comedy show or saying that he's a comedian, therefore he can get away with making all these different various jokes. And I think the distinction that should be made right here is that Ethan is interpreting this as him being called a failed stand-up comedian, which I don't believe Ethan actually attempted. Now, if he did, then there really is nothing for Ethan to say in response to this, so I can give points even to sides that I disagree with if that is the case.
And I've never tried to be a professional comedian.
That being said, I think the fairest interpretation of Ethan saying this is that he wasn't trying to be a stand-up comedian. He was trying to do comedy videos on YouTube, which, by the way, he was quite successful in that regard. So again, this is why I think Ethan is interpreting this as him being called a failed stand-up comedian, which he never claimed to be.
It's just pathetic. It's like you're really at your rock bottom here right now.
Comedian, in air quotes. Still,
Ooh!
I didn't even hear what you said.
Not funny.
Air quotes.
Not funny. Just like you're a socialist. Yeah. By the way, theory time, and I'm pretty sure I'm right. Hassan says he adopted his dog. He went all over LA looking for the perfect dog. Oh, I went to all of these pounds. I couldn't find the perfect dog. But then magically, off camera, I found on Craigslist this post where they were giving away $20,000 designer dogs. And I was so lucky, Hassan Piker. I found this. Can anybody find me a Craigslist post where they're giving away $20,000 designer dogs? Because I'd like to inquire. He bought that dog. He bought the fucking dog, and he doesn't want to admit it. Obviously.
So then Ethan ends up jumping to the fact that Cenk's nephew was supposedly trying to adopt a dog, and then he said he found on a Craigslist ad that somebody was giving away this most perfect, beautiful designer dog for free, and Ethan points out the obvious, which is nobody gives away a $20,000 designer puppy on Craigslist, and Cenk's nephew is just so terrified of criticism from his audience, he doesn't want to admit that he purchased the dog. And by the way, we're going to come back to this later because this is just one bit of evidence for that, but I find it absolutely hilarious that Ethan is like, you know what, if you're not going to actually watch the video, if you're not actually going to attempt to respond to any of the actual points, and you're just going to try to smear me, I'm going to bring up all the stuff that I know about you. And obviously, if you have a $20,000 dog, you didn't get it for free. Again, he bought the dog. Apparently, this is a huge problem amongst his community. I'm not exactly sure why, but nobody should be surprised by this. Cenk's nephew bought a luxury home. Cenk's nephew bought a luxury Porsche. The guy likes luxury things. This is obvious. He talks all day about how he hates capitalism and capitalism is evil, but all he wants to do is wear expensive clothes and have all these different status symbols because the man, of course, loves luxury. He loves excess. Ironically, he's as bad and brutal and as cutthroat as he imagines other evil capitalists to be. Now, some people are going to interpret what I just said as Cenk's nephew not being a real socialist or not being a real communist, and my criticism is that he's not living up to his values, but let us be clear, nothing could be further from the truth. This is exactly how socialists and communists act. There's a reason why we call them champagne socialists. They're rich, spoiled brats that enjoy nothing but luxury, but they talk as a LARP about the working class and how they're trying to save all these different various people while they rake in a ton of money. Again, one of Cenk's nephew's friends is Second Thought. He is the child of wealthy parents. He's another person who does a luxury car channel on the side in addition to promoting communism. And spoiler alert, he's also somebody who lives the life of luxury while doing sponsorships, while pushing people onto that Curiosity stream or whichever one that he was affiliated with, and at the same time while begging for money through Patreon. This is the same as Carlos Maza, Emma Vigeland. Almost all of these people are rich, spoiled brats that again want all the luxuries for themselves themselves while they're selling you a bill of goods. That's communism. And spoiler alert, this is how all communist leaders have basically operated throughout the course of their own personal lives. There's a reason why Fidel Castro died a billionaire while the people of Cuba suffered and were poor throughout his reign over them.
And by the way,
I don't know. I don't know nothing.
That's not the only lie he tells about his personal life. I did a story about it, but people didn't pick it up. But I don't give a f. This guy's a piece of shit. No, but people need to ask Hassan who's cooking his chicken off screen in his house. Who's cooking that chicken? Who's taking care of him?
Fried chicken.
Kaya? Is that what you're implying?
Dogs cannot cook chicken, Dan.
Oh.
Last I checked. Just saying. There's somebody... Since our friendship was a farce, apparently, according to him, right? There's something he goes, don't tell anyone, though, for obvious reasons, that I have this bougie-ass I'm just saying. Somebody's cooking his chicken, and they don't look like they're getting a piece of the pie either. You know what I mean? They're not on that socialist. They're not on that socialized workplace salary. You know what I mean? Cooking chicken's a big deal. That's integral to his daily routine. Of course she's entitled to a % of his profits. Duh. Socialism, bro. Live it, bro. Live it. Be the socialist you say you are. Anyway, that's just me. You guys should ask him about the chicken. And also ask him for the Craigslist post about giving away the $20,000 free designer dogs.
So this is another thing that absolutely cracks me up. Ethan Klein is implying or saying that Cenk's nephew employs a private chef in his home. Again, another marker of luxury that this guy ends up experiencing. And I find this also to be hilarious because Cenk's nephew says that hiring somebody is exploiting them because you're profiting off of the surplus labor that they produce for you and all this other labor theory of value garbage that these communists produce. And of course, this is again another example of luxury in excess that this person experiences for himself that he hides from his audience because he doesn't want them to know what he's actually doing. He's selling you communism. He's selling you socialism. And like a great number of socialist and communist leaders, the point of doing that is to enrich themselves.
You guys, oh my God, I've been looking high and low for the perfect dog. I've been to 20 pounds. And then magically one night, I found... It was like a Portuguese black spotted a pit bulldog. Yeah, I know it's crazy, you guys. They usually cost like $50,000 from really obscure breeders in Japan only. But I found one for free on Craigslist.
And it was also a puppy.
And it was a pup. Oh my God. He found a designer dog puppy for free on Craigslist. And that's how afraid of his audience he is. He can't even be honest about that.
Again, it's not about loving the poor or helping the poor. It's about hating the rich, selling hatred of the rich while becoming rich without actually producing anything of value. And again, Ethan just killing him in this particular video in every regard while Cenk's nephew is so mad. And again, look at the body language. Look at the smiles from Ethan. He's basically gotten this weight off of his chest. You can totally see it. By the way, he's lost weight. A lot of people left Ozempic comments in the previous video. Whether that's true or not, he looks great. I'm happy for him. And Cenk's nephew is flipping out and raging out over and over again, even though he's just too afraid to watch the video.
Even though I'm a fucking 50-year-old dude with like 3 children, and I spend most of my time...
So hold on. You're saying because I'm a 50-year-old dude and I have a family, therefore I should be on Twitter more and not hiding? Also, bro, let's please, dude. You're not that young. What's he, like 34, 35?
3. Yeah.
Like, bro, I'm sorry. I'm 39. We're in the same decade. You're lonely, family-ass bitch. Like, you know what I mean? I'm sorry, bro. I'm not judging you for not being married and not having a family, but let's be real here, okay? We're very close in age, okay? And he's doing the leafy. This man has fallen so far. He's doing the leafy. Get a load of this old fucking loser with kids. He doesn't even spend all of his day on Twitter, dude. Like, dude he's scraping the bottom of the barrel. He is a lost.
You're a 34-year-old man. A 34-year-old man.
That's him. Hassan's doing that. At least Leafy was saying my real age, too.
So this is also hilarious. Again, Cenk's nephew avoiding the criticism, avoiding the videos, saying that he was taken out of context in a video that he refuses to watch, is calling Ethan Klein a 50-year-old man when Ethan is actually 39, and Cenk's nephew himself is 33 years old. And of course, he brings up his 3 kids, he brings up his family, as if this is some kind of flex on Ethan, and I will just point out that Ethan Klein is married to a woman that he met before he was successful, when he had no money, when he was struggling, somebody that helped him through the process to become the wealthy individual that he is today, and somebody who obviously loves him for who he is. By contrast, Cenk's nephew's friendships, his friendships, are all friendships of convenience. Every single interaction that he has is due to the fact that he's wealthy, is due to the fact that he's famous, is due to the fact of all these other superficial things. So is it really a flex to say Ethan, who's 6 years older than me, has a wife that loves him, has 3 wonderful children that are happy and healthy, and he's not on Twitter enough? Again, what an absolute loser. And again, if you're happy with your life, if you're content with where you're at, Cenk's nephew, then you should just celebrate the fact that you're living your dream. Apparently, allegedly, but it seems like you're a little bit hurt that Ethan found real, genuine people that care about him, that love him, that appreciate him before he was famous, before that he was wealthy, that stuck by him through thick and thin. Is it not ironic that Cenk's nephew is essentially pushing the hedonistic red pill lifestyle as a positive alternative to a family man, and they're both on the left, by the way, who again married a woman who loved him before he had anyone. Again, married a woman who stuck by him, helped build him up to the success that he is today, and provided him 3 beautiful children. Cenk's nephew, you talking about all your material things without any personal attachments is not the flex that you think it is.
Now I'm 50, according to Hassan.
How old is this guy again?
He's
Like
44.
35, 40?
That's how old Hassan is. Leafy can do it. That's how old Hassan is.
Literally.
Like, what kind of insult is that, bro? What are you doing?
Online.
It's my job too, by the way, and I make a good living. You know?
Look, a lot of people in my previous video said Ethan said all this different messed up stuff in the past, therefore you don't forgive him, and this isn't about forgiving Ethan. And I will point out that Ethan actually, to his credit, put the messed up things that he said in the past at the beginning of his content nuke of Cenk's nephew, so you could see it, so you can basically know that he's not trying to hide that, he's not trying to portray himself as this holier-than-thou figure. But to me, this kind of thing, him making fun of Cenk's nephew for pulling a Leafy, hilarious in every possible way. And him pointing out that at least Leafy actually had the honesty to name his real age, unlike Cenk's nephew, is hilarious.
Anyway, if I was one of those things, then obviously that would be really scary. You know, I'd be really scared of the rising tide of socialism and communism in the United States of America. Ooh, terror.
Yeah, I mean, that's not at all what the video was about. I mean, I think it was specifically targeted at like online quote unquote socialists who are more interested in like feeling superior and feeling like they're such great people than actual like communism or socialism as it's expressed as like real people express it. But of course, if you watch the video, that was like maybe like, I don't know, like 30 seconds, like a short joke at the very beginning of the video.
Again, another great point by Ethan. He points out that Cenk's nephew is saying things that the video was not about because, again, he is afraid to show his audience the actual clips. He is a coward. Again, the largest political streamer on Twitch is afraid of the teenagers in his audience. Absolutely ridiculous, the personification of weakness, and Ethan is just calling it out. And again, like I said, you don't have to forgive him, but this is a taste of the old commentary Ethan that people actually liked. It's comedic, it's fun, there's a point to it, and I appreciate it. And even though I'm not on the Ethan Klein train, even though I disagree with Ethan's politics, the fact of the matter is, it is amusing that he realized how bad Cenk's nephew is as a person, and even though they don't even disagree that much on politics, he's calling Cenk's nephew out for going out of his way to smear him based on maybe a 2% agreement or 2% disagreement that the two have. It's absolutely hilarious to see Cenk's nephew melt down over this, and that's what is in these clips. And again, if you can't appreciate this, if you don't have the joy that I get from this, I don't know what's wrong with you. You must have no soul.
And this is what Hassan does. He does these straw mans. He goes, I didn't even watch the hour and 40-minute long video, but it's just about, socialists are scary. It's like, well, I can see why you think that. That's what I talked about for an hour and 40 minutes. Yeah.
Terror is what I would say.
Again, every time Ethan interjects into this video, he's making great points. He's making solid points. Now, I'm not going to show you too much more of these clips. Again, the full Ethan reaction video will be linked in the description. The full Cenk's nephew video will also be linked in the description so you can watch them in their context. But I will give credit for Ethan for calling him out for, of course, being super angry about this, getting super aggressive about this, even though, again, he says that he doesn't care because obviously this got under his skin.
You should go to bed. I think Hassan really needs to focus on his mental health. He needs to go to bed, okay, buddy? It's clearly that the sleep deprivation is getting to you. I say this not seriously, but because this is the type of shit that Hassan and his community have been telling me for a fucking year nonstop. And look at him now.
What the hell?
Who's crashing out now, bitch?
This guy.
But even more funny, while this was all happening, we also had a separate fight that ended up somehow bleeding into this, where Ana Kasparian and Cenk Uygur were fighting with Francesca Fiorentini, who, by the way, clearly and obviously took Cenk Uygur out of context because she's moving on to a new network, and like is tradition, she decided to throw the Young Turks under the bus in order to forward herself during the course of that move. And of course, this ends up resulting in Ana calling Francesca out. However, somebody in the replies said, Ana, you said that you're jealous of Cenk's nephew because he could play video games all day and get rich. And of course, if you find this original clip, the context of it was that it's a joke. Ana Kasparian was just joking. She calls that person out, and she also says she never would want to be Cenk's nephew because he's totally terrified of his audience. And this is something that he said time and time again to his uncle because they do those Thanksgiving streams and obviously their family. And Cenk's nephew ended up responding to this as well, and it's also hilarious.
When someone like Ana says like Hassan is a slave to his audience, or Destiny used to say this all the time too, Hassan is audience captured. Hassan is audience captured. When they say stuff like this, that's actually projection. It's no different than saying you're virtue signaling, right? You're coming to the conclusion that the values that I'm espousing are virtuous, but I simply cannot truly mean it. I must be doing it for some cynical reason. Because if you were in that similar predicament, you'd be doing it for a cynical reason. As a matter of fact, maybe you are actually advocating for the things that you're advocating for some cynical reason right now. That's all this is. I don't necessarily care about like envy as much as do I feel envious? Sure. Okay. From time to time, certainly. Envy and jealousy are different. My point was that for me, I think a lot of people that end up trying to make these arguments about how like Hassan is bad for politics and he's radicalizing his audience, yada, yada, yada. I think a lot of those people actually unironically are coming at this argument from a place of not like a political disagreement, but they're coming at this argument from a place where they have disagreements over something else, maybe jealousy, maybe envy, maybe anger, right? Or resentment over something. But then they try to turn this into a political disagreement because everyone wants to moralize their consumption, okay? Everyone wants to moralize their consumption. Everyone wants to moralize their call out. They can't just be like, I hate this guy, his vibes are off, okay? Or they can't simply say, I hate this guy because he's successful and I'm not, and we're in the same field, right? Like, I don't like that, he left the Young Turks and was able to reach levels of success on his own. It's not about that.
Again, Cenk's nephew, absolutely pathetic, absolutely can't take any criticism, and instead he decides to say, they're just jealous that I was able to become successful after leaving TYT, and they're projecting their insecurities onto me because they weren't as successful, and it's all just jealousy. Everybody just wants to be me, when in reality and actuality, what we see time and time again is that Cenk's nephew doesn't want to be him, which is kind of crazy because the guy's famous, the guy is wealthy, But again, he's so insecure about his success, he has to hide who he is from his audience time and time again, and it's absolutely pathetic. And I will remind you that the proof of audience capture is something that we talked about time and time again on this channel. Remember, Olay, who was angry at Ana over the birthing person controversy, ended up posting a tweet, which was a mashup of Ana Kasparian reading the N-word, which were in segments where she was condemning people for using it, and claimed that Ana doesn't want you to call her a birthing person, but she'll call you the N-word whenever she wants. This was obviously ridiculously dishonest. It's a nasty smear tactic, and it's based on the fact that Olayemi doesn't have any counterpoints to anything Ana Kasparian said. And what did Cenk's nephew do when he was faced with this, because his audience was on the side of Olay? He decided that he was going to worship Olay, throw his friend that he's known for years, his uncle's colleague that has been there at the company for 17 years, all because he's afraid of his audience, all because he's insecure about getting his start due to nepotism. And if you don't believe me, I have the clip right there.
Now, I love Olayemi. I think Olayemi is great. I'm excited to have her on the broadcast. Hopefully, eventually.
So yeah, I 100% believe Ana Kasparian that she doesn't want to be Cenk's nephew. And for Cenk's nephew to say maybe Ana is afraid to go against her audience when we've seen clip after clip after clip of her doing so, even when people backstab her like Cenk's nephew, betray her like Cenk's nephew because they're too cowardly to do so, she still ends up doing it. So yeah, this is what Cenk's nephew is. This is who he's always been, an absolute coward masquerading as some kind of progressive hero, when in reality and actuality, the fringest, weakest parts of his audience, he's too afraid to stand up to. But you know what? Those are just my thoughts. I want to know what you guys think down in the comments below. If you like the video, show them by leaving a like, subscribe for more content, follow me on the social medias, support me via the support links in the description of this video. This has been me talking about Cenk's nephew, raging out. Till next time.